Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday. Friday for those of you who work Monday through Friday. It is July 7th, 2023. Here we go again. It is a special day. Why is it a special day? Other than the fact that it's Friday, what makes this day so special? I haven't given out any gold stars lately, so I'm going to give an opportunity for someone to get a gold star. What makes today so special? Post in the comments below, and if you get the right answer, if you can read my mind, uh, yes, Kathy read my mind. It's 7-7. July 7th is 7-7. And we start this program at 7 o'clock Central Time, which makes it a 7-7-7-21, which is even cooler. So there you go, Kathy. You get the gold star for today. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, Dave, sir. How are you doing? Here we go on a 7-7 at 7. Now 7:01. Let's get into the message. We got a lot area to cover today. Each new day gives us an opportunity to have gratitude, being thankful for the blessings of this new day. Let us begin for our new day. Let us begin our new day rather with prayer, meditation. In meditation, we will feel calmer and more emotionally available, and it keeps us grateful and spiritually connected to the universe and everything in it. We are blessed daily to encounter God in prayer, and we can see the signs of his tender care and love. Let us realize God is the peace found in each moment. And then it says question mark. We definitely need the editor on this one. Is the editor in chief in? I'm going to send this message to him momentarily. I think the question mark has to be removed. Let the stillness of our soul be awakened. It's got some punctuation things too. Let us start our day with serenity and the peace that awakens our souls. Let us begin each day in partnership with God, trusting him in his divine love and grace. And all things love is the most potent. Life is full of setbacks, losses, disappointments. Setbacks. Setbacks. I think it's supposed to be setbacks. It says setbacks. Setbacks. Now I understand. I'm trying to process here. I need to just be focusing on reading the message and let you guys do the processing. Life is set. I'll read it as it says. Life is full of setbacks, losses, disappointments. No matter our setbacks, there, it's setbacks. God is with us. God renews our minds and strengthens our thinking. We are going to go through difficult times. With God's help, we can overcome all the difficulties of life. Our behavior in small situations is ultimately as grave on the whole of human relation. Ships as a major action taken in response to a large scale crisis. No action or express attitude is void of effect. When we accept responsibility for all our actions as well as our attitude, our choices will reflect a widened perspective. The power inherent is even barely perceptible. Thought ist awesome. Oh, pondering. Our conduct toward others, our unspoken, much and unexpected attitudes will have their effects. I think it's supposed to be effects. Our impact today can be positive. God's blessings on your day. Much love to each of you. I'm struggling a little bit. Where's my editor? Editor in chief. Getting this off to the editor in chief. Um, Good message, but it needs some editing. There, got it off to the editor. Editor, are you taking care of this? Oh, by the way, good morning, Mr. Editor. And Tommy remembers 7777. I was in fifth grade at Fulton. I don't remember what grade I was in. Oh, 7777. I would have been at Sageville. I was a Viking, but they're no longer Vikings. I forget what they are now, but they're no longer Vikings. I do know that. We were the purple. We were the Vikings, like the Minnesota Vikings. Our color was like the Minnesota Vikings. We were the Vikings. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Miss Jackie. How are you doing today? And I saw your online order for your, what was it, the tiger slime or whatever it was. Whatever one that everybody is crazy about right now. It arrived and Jackie was on the case. All right. Where are we? Oh, so I just got done with the editor. And so now we need to turn to memories like the corners of my mind. Hey, at least I was wearing a different shirt last year. Like the other day I saw, was that yesterday that I was wearing the same shirt last year? At least I'm wearing a different shirt. I am looking at all my messages. I have different shirts on every day. I think we are all okay. So I would have been, I guess I'd have been fifth grade at Sageville then. Let's see. I'm looking for my memories. Here's a memory from 5 years ago. We must not let our perceived enemy divide us from coming together to rise up against our true enemy. We must not let our perceived enemy divide us from coming together to rise up against our true enemy. Now, there's a real deep thought. Let's see. Da 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 da. 6 years ago today, I found one. When we decide that our standing in life is based upon by our works, we will ultimately learn that we will never be satisfied with our performance. For as good works build us up, our moments of weakness and selfishness will tear us down. We must realize What we must realize is that if we depend upon ourselves alone to achieve and succeed in this lifetime, to set ourselves up for what lies ahead, we will fail every time. While we may not know or feel this fact right now, there will become a day when this will become self evident. Hopefully, that day will come within this lifetime. For when we believe in the power of grace through faith, we are lifted up by what he has done on our behalf. And there is nothing that we can do to take this away as long as we just continue to hold on to this belief. We must trust that what he has done is enough and realize that our good works are not meant for our benefit, but rather the vehicle by which we will bring others to arrive at the same conclusion. That was 7717. 7717. 7716. We must learn to develop the gifts that we were blessed with so that we may in turn be a great blessing to others. For if we don't, we will find ourselves losing them, which will leave a great void in not only our lives, but in the lives of others as well. Though we may only be one person, our efforts can both be multiplied out and used to build upon our legacy, but neither becomes possible if we lack definitive action. Oh, let's see. Let's do one more. We'll go back to the beginning on 9 years ago, which would have been 2014, in which I did start writing these messages. Do you feel you are getting out of life what you want and deserve? If you are not, what are you doing to make it happen? For you basically control the direction of your life. So if you're not getting what you want, you have every right and ability to switch things up to get to a different outcome. If you don't, it will most likely be the same outcome, and then there is just yourself to blame. It is important to recognize that even if you find the correct path in life, you will still have problems and obstacles along the way. So go out there today and live your life to the fullest and savor every moment. The key is to live with the correct mindset and with love and compassion towards all. Once you master this, the rest will seem to fall into place. It won't be an instant transformation, but it will happen if you commit to take the first step towards a new you. There we go. And 11 years ago, last full weekend before Ragbri. Did Ragbri apparently in 2012. Boy, I did that once and I did the whole complete route. I did the century when you go over 100 miles in a day. And I went well over 100 miles that day because I kind of got lost finding camp too. And so I did well over 100 miles. It was I don't know, nearly 500 miles of bike riding. I did the whole thing because I thought there could be a possibility that I would never do it again. And you know what? I'm probably not going to do it again. All right. Where are we? Let's go into the book of amazing stories. Today's July 7th, like I said, and the story is Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Little Theodore never felt like he belonged. It would be years before he figured out why. But then his rage was off the charts. His teen mother named him Theodore Robert Cowell, giving him her maiden name. She took her baby to Philadelphia to live with his grandparents. Ashamed of being an unwed mother, she told her son that she was his sister. He would be an adult before he discovered that his big sister was really his mother and that his grandparents weren't his mom and dad. He never forgave that deception. Kind of makes me think about the story I saw the other day, in which basically man and wife got together, and he was already snip snip taken care of, couldn't have kids, so but they wanted to have a child together. So basically they did like the in vitro with his son. And so then basically they had a daughter, but then what she thought was her brother was actually kind of like her father. It's just kind of a really messy family tree in that case. Um, when he was 4, his mom took him from the only home he had ever known and moved across the country. Theodore never recovered from the trauma of that move or the fact that his mother was incapable of showing affection. To make matters worse, she married an abusive alcoholic. The boy withdrew into a shell of bitter loneliness. Though he grew up to be quite handsome, Theodore had few friends or dates. He could never shake his paranoid fear of intimacy. At age 12, he found some porn magazines in a garbage dump. Through soft porn, he tried to connect with women without risking intimacy, but the flesh is never satisfied. So Theodore graduated to the hard stuff. He tried to break his addiction by incessantly repeating a mantra he learned in Sunday school. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. But he couldn't overcome the weakness of his flesh. After the only girl he ever loved broke up with him, Theodore snapped. Somewhere outside Seattle, he killed his first victim. Before he was finished, he became the most prolific murderer in U.S. history. Some experts say that he may have tortured and murdered as many as 100 women in a cross country killing spree. On the night before he was strapped into the electric chair at the Florida State Prison, Theodore Ted Bundy confessed to Dr. James Dobson. There was an unfulfilled longing in my heart. I thought that pornography could fill the emptiness. My mind was always focused on the wrong things. They became the doorways that allowed sinister spirits to come inside me. Violence became part of my fantasies. I drank lots of alcohol to reduce my religious inhibitions. When I committed my first murder, it seemed like I was possessed by something awful and alien. Ted Bundy spent the last night of his life praying with a minister. He wept over the horror and pain he inflicted on his victims. In the early morning hours, Theodore finally smiled and said, my eyes will soon see something beautiful for the first time. What will you look at today? Herman Melville wrote, eyes are windows to the soul. If you recall Ted's story, you might take this truth seriously. Eyes are glass doors through which the visible world enters to take control of the invisible soul. Your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is unhealthy, your whole body is filled with darkness. Ooh, that was a very powerful story, if I may say. Are they still doing it? Yes, they are still doing it. 2012. I'm trying to remember now. Because 2011, I think, is when I did my ultra marathon, when I did my 24-hour walk, in which I did a lot. Oh, what was it again? I should try to remember this number. 57. It was 57:33, which would have made it 60:30. I did 60.3 miles in a 24-hour period. I did that in 2011. And then I did Ragbri. I must have done Ragbri in 2012. All right. 40 days to lasting change and AHA challenge because it's Friday. So let's open up the book. Day 27, it says time to get up. So he got up and went to his father. After high school graduation, I joined my senior class for a trip to Dallas, Texas. There, for the first time ever, I saw someone bungee jump. At several hundred feet off the ground, this was one of the tallest jumps in the country. We watched as a guy got ready to make a leap with nothing but a cord strapped to his ankles. Ouch. He dove headfirst, and it was clear my fellow students were impressed. In this moment, I experienced a phenomenon known as a word vomit. It's when a thought spews from your mouth before you can stop it. Here's what came out of my mouth. I'd do that, but I'm not going to spend $40 on it. I was trying to sound cool enough to bungee jump, but too cool to actually spend the money. There was a little commotion behind me, and one of the girls in my class pulled out a $20 bill and said, "Would this help?" At that point, my back was against the wall. A girl had called my bluff in front of everyone. I could have said, "Well, I'm not going to spend $20 on it either." But that wouldn't have gone over well. So, without stopping to consider the fact that I don't like heights, I took the $20 and got in line. As the crane lowered, I told myself it's not that high. But once the platform was at ground level, I stepped aboard. I was nervous. The platform rose higher and higher until the crane finally lurched to a halt. I stepped to the edge and made a horrible choice. I looked down. Overcome with paralyzing fear, I turned to the crane operator and said, "I can't do it. I just can't do it." But then a thought struck me. I asked, "Would you just give me a shove?" Apparently, I wasn't the first guy too scared to jump, but too embarrassed to ride the platform back down. The worker replied, "Well, we're not legally allowed to push someone off." Frustrated with his answer, I replied, "Do you have any other ideas for me?" "Well, sometimes it works if you just close your eyes and fall," he said. Then he added, "Anybody can do that." Well, fine, I thought, mustering some courage. That sounds all right. I can do it. I can fall. So I stepped to the edge, closed my eyes, and I'm proud to say that, well, I didn't exactly bungee jump. I bungee fell. It's one thing to say what you are going to do, but it's another thing to do it. Action is where a lot of us get stuck. We know what needs to be done, but when we step out on the platform, we just can't move. Maybe this is a helpful picture. Think of AHA as a door that swings on three hinges. The first hinge is a sudden awakening. The second hinge is brutal honesty. The third and final hinge is immediate action. In Luke 15:20, we read a simple phrase that changed the story of the prodigal son. Jesus simply said, "So he got up." The prodigal son took immediate action. He recognized that it was time to get up. It was time to do something. And unless our story also reads, "So he got up," or "So she got up," then nothing really changes. This is where AHA stalls out for so many of us. We have an awakening moment. We can even find the strength to be brutally honest, but we never get around to actually doing anything different. We spend much of our life stuck between honesty and action. But I want you to see a connection in the story of the prodigal son between these two phrases in Luke 15. Verse 17, it says, he came to his senses. And verse 20, so he got up. Without verse 20, verse 17 doesn't really matter. Without action, aha doesn't happen. My question for you is, when are you going to get up? My aha. That's the end of the chapter. That's the end of chapter 27. And so here we go. Here is my aha. Make a list of your recent good intentions. Think about which you might have said, I should or I need to. Got a lot to think about. Better yet, dig out your list of New Year's resolutions. Do you have New Year's resolutions? Do you have that list? If you make a list of New Year's resolutions, maybe time to look at it and see how you're doing, because we're in the second half of the year now. I guess I should have made a list of New Year's resolutions. So I'll just have to look at where my life is right now. I got some things to work on. And if we're being truthful, each one of us could say, we've got some things to work on. Where are you stuck? Oh boy. Yes, I know. Identify what's holding you back. Get up and overcome an obstacle today. God in his perfect timing. That's all I got to say. I got some things to work on. I think I need to reread that chapter again. Oh. So guess what? I'll be rereading that chapter again. And if you want to reread the chapter, if you have the book, you can reread the chapter. If you don't have the book, you can just go back and find this message again and listen to it again. But we need to move on because we've got reading to do. Keep moving along, keep moving along, keep moving along. We're going to pick up in Old Testament reading, 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 5. Now we're probably going to be back to all the names I can't say. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had two wives named Helah and Nara. Nara gave birth to Ahuzam, Heifer. We'll say Heifer. It looks like Heifer. Tamini, and who would name their child Heifer? Or maybe it's Heifer. And Hashtari. Helah gave birth to Zereth, Ishar, Ethnan, and Kaz, who became an ancestor to Anab, Zobabah, and all the families of Arhahel, sons of Haram. There was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. His mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. He was the one who prayed to God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all trouble and pain." And God granted him his request. Caleb, the brother of Shuha, was the father of Meher, or maybe Meher. Meher, we'll say, was the father of Eshton. Eshton was the father of Beth Rapha, or maybe Rapha, Paseah, and Tehina. Tehina was the father of Nahash. These were the descendants of Rekah. The sons of Kenaz were Othniel and Seraiah. Othniel's sons were Hathath and Meonotai. Meonotai was the father of Oprah. Sariah maybe, was the father of Joab, the founder of the Valley of Craftsmen, so called because they were craftsmen. Makes sense. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, were Uru, Elah, and Nam. The son of Elah was Kenaz. The sons of Jahalel were Zippah, Tiria, and Asarel. The sons of Ezra were Jether, Merid, Epher, and Jalon. One of Merid's wives became the mother of Miriam, Shammai, and Ishba, the father of Eshtemoa. He married a woman from Judah who became the mother of Jared, the father of Gedor, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthiel, the father of Zanoah. Merid also married Bithia, a daughter of Pharaoh, and she bore him children. Hodiah's wife was the sister of Naham. One of her sons was the father of Keilah and Garmite, and another was the father of Eshtemoa the Machanite. The sons of Shimon were Ammon, Rinah, Ben Hanan, and Tilon. The descendants of Ishi were Zoheth and Ben Soheth. Shelah was one of Judah's sons. The descendants of Shelah were the father of Lecah, Ladda, the father of Mersha, the families of linen workers at Beth Ashbea, Joachim, the men of Kasbah, and Joash and Seraph, who ruled over Moab, and Jashubi Jehem. These names all come from ancient records. They were the pottery makers who lived in Netaim and Gedera. They lived there and worked for the king. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Jereb, Zohar, and Shaul. The descendants of Shaul were Shalom, Mizsam, and Mishma. The descendants of Mishma were Hamuel, Zachar, and Shimi. Shimi had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but none of his brothers had large families, so Simeon's tribe never grew as large as the tribe of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Moladah, Hazar Shual, Bilhah, Ezem, Tolad, Bethuel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Suzim, Beth Biri, and Sharaim. These towns were under their control until the time of King David. Their descendants also lived in Edom, Ain, Rimmon, Token, and Ashan, 5 towns, and their surrounding villages as far away as Baalath. This was their territory, and these were the names. Oh, these were the names. These were the names. I know the story don't go like that, but listed in their genealogical records. Other descendants of Simeon included Meshobab, Jamlech, Jasha, son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, son of Joshabiah, son of Serariah, son of Asiel, Elionai, Jacobah, Jeshoiah, Azahiah, Adiel, Jejamiel, Benaniah, and Ziza, son of Shippi, son of Elon, son of Jedediah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These were the names of some of the leaders. These were names of some of the leaders. Um, they may not have been pronounced correctly, but these were the names of some of the leaders of Simeon's wealthy clans. Their families grew, and they traveled to the region of Gerar in the east part of the valley, seeking pasture land for their flocks. They found lush pastures there, and the land was spacious, quiet, and peaceful. Some of Ham's descendants had been living in that region, but during the reign of King Hezekiah of Judah, these leaders of Simeon invaded the region and completely destroyed the homes of the descendants of Ham and the Menuhites. No trace of them remains today. They killed everyone who lived there and took the land for themselves because they wanted its good pasture land for their flocks. 500 of these invaders from the tribe of Simeon went to Mount Seir, led by Pelatiah, Neriah, Raphiah, and Uzziel, all sons of Ishi. They destroyed the few Amalekites who had survived, and they had lived there ever since. The oldest son of Israel was Reuben, but since he dishonored his father by sleeping with one of his father's concubines, his birthright was given to the sons of his brother Joseph. For this reason, Reuben is not listed in the genealogical records as the firstborn son. The descendants of Judah became the most powerful tribe and provided a ruler for the nation, but the birthright belonged to Joseph. The sons of Reuben, the oldest of Israel, were Hanak, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The descendants of Joel were Shemaiah, Gog, Shimi, Micah, Reiah, Baal, and Bera. Bera was the leader of the Reubenites when they were taken into captivity by King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. Bera's relatives are listed in their genealogical records by their clans. Jeiel, the leader, Zechariah and Bela, son of Azaz, son of Shema, son of Joel. The Reubenites lived in the area that stretches from Aror to Nebo and Baal Meon. And since they had so many livestock in the land of Gilead, they spread east toward the edge of the desert that stretches the Euphrates River. During the reign of Saul, the Reubenites defeated the Hagrites in battle. Then they moved into the Hagrite settlements all along the eastern edge of Gilead. Next to the Reubenites, the descendants of Gad lived in the land of Bashan as far east as Salcah. Joel was the leader in the land of Bashan, and Shaphan was second in command, followed by Janai and Shaphat. Their relatives, the leaders of the 7 other clans, were Michael, Meshullam, Sheba, Jerai, Jachin, Zia, and Eber. They were all descendants of Abihail, son of Huri, son of Jaroah, son of Gilead, son of Michael, son of Jeshashai, son of Jadu, son of Buz. Ahai, son of Abdiel, son of Guni, was the leader of their clans. The Gadites lived in the land of Gilead, and in Bashan and its villages, and throughout all the pasture lands of Sharon. All of these were listed in the genealogical records during the days of King Jotham of Judah and King Jeroboam of Israel. All right, we move on into New Testament reading. It should get a lot easier from here. We continue on in the book of Acts, Acts 25, verses 1 through 27. 3 days after Festus arrived in Caesarea to take over his new responsibilities, he left for Jerusalem, where the leading priests and other Jewish leaders met with him and made their accusations against Paul. They asked Festus as a favor to transfer Paul to Jerusalem, planning to ambush and kill him on the way. Have we heard this story before? But Festus replied that Paul was at Caesarea and he himself would be returning there soon. So he said, "Those of you in authority can return with me. If Paul has done anything wrong, you can make your accusation." About 8 or 10 days later, Festus returned to Caesarea, and on the following day, he took his seat in court and ordered that Paul be brought in. When Paul arrived, the Jewish leaders from Jerusalem gathered around and made many serious accusations they couldn't prove. Paul denied the charges. "I am not guilty of any crime against Jewish laws or the temple or the Roman government," he said. Then Festus, wanting to please the Jews, asked him, "Are you willing to go to Jerusalem and stand trial before me there?" But Paul replied, "No, this is the official Roman court, so I ought to be tried right here. You know very well I am not guilty of harming the Jews. If I have done something worthy of death, I don't refuse to die. But if I am innocent, no one has a right to turn me over to these men to kill me. I appeal to Caesar." Festus conferred with his advisors and then replied, "Very well. You have appealed to Caesar, and to Caesar you will go." A few days later, King Agrippa arrived with his sister Bernice to pay their respects to Festus. During their stay of several days, Festus discussed Paul's case with the king. "There is a prisoner here," he told him, "whose case was left for me by Felix. When I was in Jerusalem, the leading priests and Jewish elders pressed charges against him and asked me to condemn him. I pointed out to them that Roman law does not convict people without a trial. They must be given an opportunity to confront their accusers and defend themselves. When his accusers came here for the trial, I didn't delay. I called the case the very next day and ordered Paul brought in. But the accusations made against him weren't any of the crimes I expected. Instead, it was something about their religion and a dead man named Jesus, who Paul insists is alive. I was at a loss to know how to investigate these things, so I asked him whether he would be willing to stand trial on these charges in Jerusalem. But Paul appealed to have his case decided by the emperor. So I ordered that he be held in custody until I could arrange to send him to Caesar. "I'd like to hear the man myself," Agrippa said. And Festus replied, "You will tomorrow." So the next day, Agrippa and Bernice arrived at the auditorium with great pomp, accompanied by military officers and prominent men of the city. Festus ordered that Paul be brought in. Then Festus said, "King Agrippa and all who are here, this is the man whose death is demanded by all the Jews, both here and in Jerusalem. But in my opinion, he has done nothing deserving death. However, since he has appealed his case to the emperor, I have decided to send him to Rome. But what should I write the emperor? So there is no, but there is no clear charge against him. So I have brought him in before all of you, and especially you, King Agrippa, so that after we examine him, I might have something to write. For it makes no sense to send a prisoner to the emperor without specifying the charges against him." To be continued tomorrow on your own. Psalm 5, verses 1 through 12. O Lord, hear me as I pray. Pay attention to my groaning. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God, for I pray to no one but you. Listen to my voice in the morning, Lord. Each morning I bring my request to you and wait expectantly. O God, you take no pleasure in wickedness. You cannot tolerate the sins of the wicked. Therefore, the proud may not stand in your presence, for you hate all who do evil. You will destroy those who tell lies. The Lord detests murderers and deceivers. Because of your unfailing love, I can enter your house. I will worship at your temple with deepest awe. Lead me in the right path, O Lord, or my enemies will conquer me. Make your way plain for me to follow. My enemies cannot speak a truthful word. Their deepest desire is to destroy others. Their talk is foul, like a stench from an open grave. Their tongues are filled with flattery. O God, declare them guilty. Let them be caught in their own traps. Drive them away because of their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever. Spread your protection over them, for all who love your name may be filled with joy. For you bless the godly, O Lord. You surround them with your shield of love. Proverbs 18, verse 19. An offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Arguments separate friends like a gate locked with bars. And we've come to the end of the reading, and looks like we're just at 7:45. So although Marie is not here, we're going to give another story to all of you wonderful peeps out there. And I'll just imagine that Marie has made a cup of tea. All right, we're going to go to tomorrow's story, which is Boomerang Justice. Hey, isn't that interesting? We were just talking about justice. Paul is looking for some justice. Let's see if we can find any justice in this story. Many are convinced that the territorial governor committed suicide. Anyone who knows his story might see how he'd be tempted to do so. After all, the murder of an innocent man was committed on his watch. He had sworn to uphold the law. But one morning, a lynch mob dragged a battered man into his courtroom, demanding that he be hanged. The governor knew the man was not guilty, but he caved to the mob. The act of judicial cowardice will live forever in infamy. He had left the capital with high hopes as the new territorial governor of a high desert country crawling with outlaw gangs. If he managed to clean up the territory, he would return home to a hero's welcome. When he galloped into the territorial capital at the head of his federal troops, everyone knew there was a new sheriff in town, a tough law and order man. He might as well have been called the hanging judge. He made the streets safe for decent folk and ruthlessly hunted down outlaw gangs. With grit and determination, he lasted a decade in a place that had chewed up and spit out governors every 2 years. Yet history remembers this territorial governor for hanging that innocent man. He tried to reason with the lynch mob, but they wouldn't listen. He tried to get the bloodied man to admit to some crime, but he refused. He had some of his marshals beat him savagely, hoping that this bludgeoning would satisfy the mob. Instead, they screamed even louder for a lynching. Finally, he brought out the meanest desperado who had ever appeared on a wanted poster, a gunslinger, and a bank robber. He offered to hang him in place of the innocent man, but the mob refused. So he caved in to keep peace in the territory. His attempt at compromise didn't work. The territory erupted into a violent war. The judge was called home in disgrace, his political career in shambles. A few years later, according to the people who claimed to know, he went to a bluff above a river and jumped to his death. People said he committed suicide because he couldn't get that innocent man out of his mind. You remember that governor by his infamous name, Pontius Pilate. The wild territory was Judea. The innocent man he hanged was Jesus. Did Pilate finally commit suicide? That is debatable. But one thing is certain. Jesus stands before us today just as he stood before Pilate. He asks us to choose what we will do with him. He will not go away, so we must decide. The choice we make has eternal consequences. There is irony in Governor Pilate's story. This judge will stand in heaven's courtroom before the one he hanged on a tree outside Jerusalem. Their roles will be reversed. Now Jesus will be the judge. He will be your judge too. Are you ready for that day? You will be if you receive him as your Savior and King. You will avoid the fate of this governor if you learn from the tragic story of Pilate's encounter with Jesus. Either crown him or crucify him, but never compromise him. Either crown him or crucify him, but never compromise. You have to be on one side or the other. You have to choose to accept or choose to reject. And the choice we make will have eternal consequences. You can't just sit in the middle. You can't sit on the fence. You're either on one side or the other. Together, they will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them because he is the Lord of all lords and King of all kings. Revelation 17, verse 14. Maybe we'll get to this story. This is Sunday's story. We'll get to this story maybe on Monday. It reads, The Real Wonder Woman. There's something to think about. Who is the real Wonder Woman? Give you something to think about over the weekend, in addition to thinking about how we're going to put our words into actions. We got a lot to work on this weekend, don't we? We are a constant work in action. We're not perfect, but we know the one who is. So may we seek him, ask, listen, obey, and make it happen. We need help. The state of this country is crazy right now. Maybe the state of your life or my life is crazy right now. But we have an advocate. We have a helper. And sometimes what we need to do is just spend more time just spending time with him and saying, Father, I need help. Please help me. We turn to our prayer to wrap up this day, this week, on this Friday, July 7th, 2023. A frontline worker who has served in Sudan's war-torn Nuba Mountains hasn't bowed to intimidation, even amid the government's violent attempts to drive Christians from their homes in the region. In these mountains and in other perilous corners of the world, frontline workers joyfully proclaim the gospel. Their peace with God, experienced through a vibrant faith in Christ, surpasses all understanding. Lord, provide for my faithful brothers and sisters who risk losing everything at the hands of those who are trying to silence them. Give them incomprehensible joy in each trial. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please give them the strength, the courage to keep doing what their calling is according to God. Understanding that ultimately each person makes a choice. And they may accept the message that they're given, they may reject the message they're given. But what we must do is do what is right, do what is called to us by God. And we do that, then the other person, they're going to eventually stand before the judge. And they will have to answer for the decisions, the choices they have made. And so let us reflect. Let us turn to him. Let's continue to work on ourselves. It's a process called sanctification. We have accepted the sacrifice Jesus has made on the cross. We have given our lives to him, but yet we are so far from perfect. We say the wrong things, we do the wrong things. We just can't seem to get it right, even when we want to get it right. And that is why we need him to help us, to guide us, to lead us, to comfort us, to provide us strength so that we may continue to press forward, never giving up, never giving in, never giving in to the enemy, recognizing who the enemy is, what the enemy is up to, and not giving up, not giving in until we go home. And one day we will go home. And for each one of us, we don't know when that'll be. It could be years. It could be months. It could be weeks. It could be days. It could be hours. It could be minutes. It could be seconds. That is the truth. We don't know. It could be at any moment. And so are we happy with our body of work? And if we're being honest, if I'm being honest, no, I'm not. I got more work to do, more work to be done. And thank God he has given us more time to do that work. He has a purpose. You are living here. You are creating the image of God, living here in this moment for a reason and a purpose. And though we haven't gotten it right all the time, and maybe we haven't even really figured out what it is yet, by the grace of God, he has given us more time so that we may get our work done before we head home. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. And God willing, we'll be back with you come Monday morning. Until then.